I used to say tears of sorrow render you kind of helpless and hopeless, but tears of compassion are very different because compassion has the word passion in it, and passion always leads to action.
Welcome to the Tales to Inspire podcast. Before we get started on this episode, I would like to invite you to our community so that you can hear more stories to inspire change within your life and positive change within the systems in which we live. All I want you to do is to click on the subscribe button. Your comments mean the world to us with anything that's resonated with you, and I absolutely love your support. I can't wait to go on this journey alongside you. Thank you so much for subscribing. Let's get into today's episode.
I'd like to say thank you to our partners Wellsprings, who provided us a studio to share these stories. Now, Wellsprings provides opportunities for entrepreneurs and individuals with growing businesses in the Bolton area. Thank you so much for your support.
I'd like to give a huge thank you to one of our key partners, Bolton CVS, in helping us share new stories of changemakers within Bolton, and that starts today.
Today, we go into a deep dive with Rich Jones.
My name's Rich, and this is my Tale to Inspire.
Just as a quick trigger warning, Rich does talk about his challenges with mental health and suicide. So, Rich Jones, welcome to the Tales to Inspire podcast. It's been a long time coming, this interview.
It has, hasn't it? Yeah.
It has. And I think we've known each other now. Well, how long have we known each other? It's definitely over 5 years, isn't it?
Yeah, we're into the 6th year.
Into the 6th year
of knowing each other.
Wow,
Yeah.
I'm a little bit greyer, and I think I've got a little bit less hair. But yeah, welcome to the podcast, mate. And it's honestly such an honour. Well, do you want to introduce yourself? Who are you? Where you're from? And we'll go from there.
Yep. I've listened to some back episodes of the Tales to Inspire podcast, and you introduce it in the same way every time, and it just puts me back into the 90s of sitting at home on a Saturday night watching Blind Date and Scylla. Who are you?
Yeah, mate. That's where I'm modelling from. You've given away my secrets, Rich.
Where did you come from? So hopefully there's no screen going to part. Anyway, yeah, so my name's Rich Jones, and I live in Manchester with my wife and kids, and I've lived in Manchester for nearly 7 years. And I've kind of lived in various places throughout my life, and so I'll kind of take you back to the early years and then work through, if that's all right.
Yeah, please do.
So I started life living in Cambridge. My parents met when they were studying there, and when I was quite young, we moved to northern Nigeria. My parents were missionaries, and so we were based out there for a number of years. So I did my kind of toddler years and all of that sort of thing out there. And it was I'd say a really kind of formative experience. And I can still remember loads about it. And I think it really shaped part of who I am, or some of those experiences. And then we came back to this country and went to school in Cambridge. And I talk about having this lifelong ambition. So for people who listen to this or engage with this, who know me, will be bored of this story. But I talk about this, having this lifelong ambition of being Robbie Williams. So that was my goal. That's what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be. And I was kind of pretty much fixed on it. And so what that involved was investing in music, kind of particularly singing. And because of my upbringing and some of the privilege around it, it meant that I could really invest in honing that kind of the skill, and went on to get a place at a posh music college, a conservatoire in Birmingham, and studied vocal and opera studies. And again, that was basically the trajectory. That's where I was heading and what I wanted to do. And didn't end up doing that. Okay. So I'm not an opera singer. And tend to only do music stuff for weddings, funerals, and bar mitzvahs, and basically for fun, and very not very often. But yeah, that was kind of my whole life, and I'll come back to the Robbie Williams thing because I think it's interesting. Normally, I tell that story just to introduce myself, and because what I do now is so very different to that kind of life. It's a nice little icebreaker. So found myself after study in Yorkshire, because my parents had moved from Cambridge to Yorkshire for work, and kind of then fell into the kind of first part of my career in my early 20s, and worked for a little bit in a social enterprise. Ran this social enterprise. It was a coffee house that was attached to a children and young people's charity, and charity worked with children and young people who are at risk of or had been excluded from education, and got seconded from that social enterprise into the charity's work, and worked as a youth worker for a short period of time to work alongside young people who were at risk of or had been excluded from school. And then the charity created a job for a youth worker to carry on that type of work, but then to create some activities, or to develop some activities out of school hours, kind of recognizing that challenges don't get kind of fixed when they start the school day and end the school day, and there's kind of a whole life outside. And so look to that kind of holism piece, and what could a holistic offer be for children and people in that area. And then that organization, very, very good at what they did. And so there was some interest in what it would look like to do similar bits of work elsewhere around the UK. Also, they packaged up what they did and went national, and actually moved out of the community that they were based in, which presented an opportunity to create a bit of a legacy project and to carry on working with the young people in that community that they'd kind of been rooted in, and see what that looked like. So me and a few other people worked together to set up a charity that I led for nearly a decade, from I think it was about 23 when we started that, and then led that for nearly a decade. And it was a great experience. Worked with loads of children, young people in different contexts, education. Come towards the end of the work, we'd taken on our community cinema and built like recreation spaces in it and classrooms. Did work with primary schools. Did some kind of crossover work with the local FE college and things like that. And yeah, got me into some kind of exciting spaces, some policy advice spaces, and yeah, it was a kind of really fun time, quite frenetic, and quite involved. And so I guess I'll gloss over some things and then I'll come back to it. So then from that went into the best part of 4 years of doing kind of little project work, so small kind of contracts, working for different charities, typically around kind of fundraising and income generation, and kind of essentially consultancy, taking some of the things that I'd learned from setting up and then leading and growing a charity, and kind of putting it into different contexts, and came over to Manchester to do like a kind of interim leadership role within a charity, which was sort of like a turnaround project. And then found myself just before the pandemic working for an organisation in Wakefield, at CVS, working on a project to see commissioning and procurement flow more easily from the public sector into the voluntary sector, and led on the development and implementation of a framework to achieve that, which still works today. And I love looking in on that work and seeing how it's working and how fruitful it is, and how well it's supporting all types of organisations in the voluntary sector, whether that's kind of large organisations right through to the kind of small, micro, grassroots, hyper-local organisations. It's really great to see different organisations benefiting from that. I think, we connected a little bit over that. We got you in to do some advice, consultancy work for that organisation. Moved over to work in a similar organisation in Oldham, as their ops manager for a bit, and then ended up where I am now, which is over in Liverpool, leading a charity that looks after a network of food banks. So working with Trussell on that, and then runs a debt and welfare benefits advice service. And then we've been incubating a little social enterprise, which is an app-based product, which is designed to increase access to advice. So at the moment is to increase access to debt and welfare benefits advice, and literally get the ability for, and the kind of dream is that anyone, anytime, anywhere will be able to, through this app, connect friends, colleagues, family, just people in communities to the kind of specialist support that they might need with debt or welfare benefits advice. So I've been involved in that for 3.5 years. Now to roll back, we've talked a bit about burnout and things like that. The bit between the charity that I founded and grew and finding myself where I am now is a kind of quite a challenging journey. So I experienced burnout, breakdown, and all the things that come with that. And so it was kind of quite catastrophic, if I'm quite honest. And so lost pretty much everything. Kind of family broke down, relationships broke down, and found myself kind of wandering through life, existing basically. And I spoke earlier about the kind of going to the darkest place that you can go, and some of the kind of challenges around that. And that was a really kind of tough time. And we met when I was kind of at the end of that time, and so was experiencing some homelessness. And you were running a project in Manchester City Centre, beautiful project, brew power, yes, exactly what it says on the tin. And I was just kind of doing the rounds of some of the kind of support that is a beautiful support that's available in Manchester, and got chatting to you, and I don't think I even had a brew. You owe me a brew.
Well, the team would always say that Krish doesn't really do brews. He just chats to people.
Okay, there you go. So it's the chat bit. But actually, to your credit, you're good at it. And it was the chat bit that stuck with me since then. Because I was with someone else, and you obviously knew the other person, and it was going to be your birthday, and you said, "Oh, I'm having a birthday thing at this place, you should come along." And I just remember thinking, what? He's invited that dude to his birthday? Wow. And just it was just genuine kindness, and just it was kind of taking that kind of action of being out on the street, handing out brews, chatting to people, but actually putting your money where your mouth was on that, and extending that kind of friendship to the people that you found yourself alongside. And then you turned to me and said, "You can come too." And I was like, man, this guy, he's only just met me. I didn't go, but I took your number, and I think we were chatting about and that's the interesting thing, because I found myself in that context as I thought, what am I doing here? And I remember someone once said to me, "You're only one life event away from that kind of crisis." And some of the people I've kind of met along my journey have been people from all walks of life. You could find yourself in that situation. Literally, that would be something that I would say to anyone. It doesn't matter what your upbringing was and what kind of qualifications you've got, how much you might earn, you can end up there. And so I remember us having a conversation about just doing good in the world, and you genuinely said, "Oh, here's my number, we should talk more about this." And I was like, man, that's great. So we met then, and I was experiencing some homelessness. I was all right. Andy Burnham's bed every night thing worked for me, and I was only in that space for a very, very short period of time, which is a mercy and a blessing, and found my way out of it. And I think the moment that really shifted things for me was, I can remember the moment. It wasn't like a kind of light in the sky thing. It wasn't I wasn't at a project where someone said something brilliant and it changed everything. I wasn't in therapy and someone said something and it was like, goal, win. I literally had a choice. I'd been existing for such a long time, and that was all I was doing. I was just existing. I wasn't living. It was just an existence. And I'd tried to not exist, and that hadn't worked. And so I remember thinking, well, I've tried that thing and that doesn't work. So now I've got a choice, either live or not. And if I'm going to live, then I'm going to live the best life that I can live. And so, I remember the date, 5th of June, 2020, is the day that I chose to live. And it's all sorts of things that come with that, because it wasn't just about, right, I'm going to live, off I go, live. That meant that I needed to, we talked earlier about kind of, how you stay in peak athletic condition like we both are. And that requires work, but also the same with your mental health and your emotional well-being. And so I knew that required some work. So I needed to get therapy. I needed to engage in ongoing support. And like, even now, I'm continually working on that stuff because I want to be well, and I am well, and I'm living well, but I want to stay that way.
Yeah.
And so that moment was the moment that really changed things for me. And so that year was 2020 was awful, wasn't it, in so many respects? And it wasn't great for me, but it was also the year that my life changed and things turned around. And so now I am grateful every day, because since that point I've been building this life of wellness and
So on that point, and I think it's so special, Rishi, you're talking about this from such a genuine place. There's your work life going on, and I guess a lot of people don't know what's going on the other side. You're trying to keep that separate, possibly. I don't know, but the way that we came across with each other, I was very much the person who thought a homeless person was a certain type of person.
Yeah.
2018, before I first got on the streets and came back from America and built this school in Africa and come back, I thought homeless person, someone who's addicted to something, who's an alcoholic, who's had serious trauma, who's a hassle to society, right? And then I started to chat with these people, and I thought, bloody hell, these people are all different. They're all like, this guy's actually incredible. Yeah. And for example, the person that you was hanging about with at that time, I thought, so young. Yeah. So young, and just really, really cool to chat with. Loved his music, carried a guitar with him, and I was like, this guy's like, pretty sound. I could be friends with this lad. And I started to realize that I boxed every single type of person that I came across into a category of person, but we're more than those boxes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in terms of that wellness side of things that we talked about there, June the 5th, 2020, right? That's right, isn't it? June the 5th, 2020.
Yeah.
That point onwards, so you talked about therapy.
Yeah.
You talked about health. How do you go about knowing what's best for you when at that time you may not have known what was best for you, and it may not have been easy, it may have cost money, it may have taken time? How do you go about that?
Yeah, I think it, before that, I had engaged in various types of therapy and support, and played the game a little bit. So kind of said, I'll do some talking therapy to get myself out of an awkward conversation with a doctor or something like that. And so did know what was out there, did know kind of how to access stuff. I think the key thing for me, I knew how to access stuff. I knew where it was. I knew what to do to get into that space. The key thing for me was to really get to grips with identity. So my frenetic activity in my 20s and the thing around setting up a charity and this links back to the Robbie Williams thing, the being Robbie Williams thing. What I came to realize not so long ago actually was I wanted to be Robbie Williams because I didn't want to be myself. And so that's what I've needed to deal with, like being all right with Rich. And actually, you know, Rich is pretty good. Rich is pretty great, actually, and I don't need to spend my time trying to be someone else. And I used to wear all these kind of badges of honor and labels and accolades and things like that around my neck when I was in my 20s doing this charity thing. And like the social sector, mad for it, like that you'll get accolades chucked at you, smoke blowing up your backside, and you kind of ride on the crest of the wave on it. But when everything goes, so does that stuff, and those badges of honor aren't gonna give back to you when you've got nothing. And so actually I'd been so defined by what I did that I'd completely lost who I was. I'm so defined by wanting to be someone else that I'd never connected with who I am. And so actually the game-changing thing for me has been the identity bit, like who am I? And actually I quite like myself, and I'm don't need to be defined by what I do. So I always find the introduction thing, the Cilla Black moment, really hard, because I do some stuff, but actually what I think is way more important is who I am, you know, what I do. So you say the thing about, you know, telling the story. I will tell my story if someone asks. I won't lead off with it, but I actually think that if you have experienced some stuff in life, whether that's kind of mental health challenges, homelessness, some sort of trauma, you can actually smell it on the person as they arrive in the room if you've experienced it yourself. And so it's back to that kind of expert by experience thing. I think I kind of lead off, having lived stuff. But rambling a little bit, I think the key thing for me in terms of achieving wellness has been that identity thing, really connecting with who I am. And it's really interesting when you're going through a rough time, you kind of put into this desert-like space, and there's a lot of isolation, and you only have your own thoughts. And I used to hate that. And people used to look in on me and think I was some sort of mad extrovert just because I was masking and putting on this show. Yeah. But actually I'm an introvert and I love it. And so I live off my own space and really, really kind of get strength in introspection. Introspection used to scare me because I have to like dig into myself, and I didn't like what was there, but now I love it. And John Amici says, uses this phrase, could you spot your soul in the dark? And when I read that, I was like, yeah, that is the one, because that is completely about your being and nothing about your doing.
I love that. I mean, I always struggle with, what do you do? I hate networking sessions.
Yeah.
I hate it. And one of the reasons is, who are you? What do you do? I'm always like, how do I explain what I do? But even harder, how do I explain who I am?
Yeah.
In an hour interview or whatever. And I love the fact that Dave Cornthwaite, one of our Tales to Inspire champions, talks about the most powerful thing you can be is you.
Yeah.
And when he first said that, I was like, holy crap, like, where am I? Who am I? Like, and actually, I don't even know, to be honest. And that's where the judgment side of it, how can someone else judge you or judge me? And half the time, I don't even know who I am.
Yeah.
Like, and it's that challenging. You talk about something there, and it reminds me of the difference between sympathy and empathy.
Yeah.
I feel when you're in a tough time, Rich, I feel really bad for you.
Mm.
What does that do for me? Like, it's great, but you said you can smell it. Empathy?
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
I understand where you've been. And for some reason in my human brain of how that works, it has a difference to, I feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
It's like, mate, I get you. I've been there. Let's do this together kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there a difference in empathy and sympathy in the way that kind of role has to play?
It's really interesting. I love that, how you frame that. I think I used to talk about compassion a lot And I have lived through compassion, or the kind of what compassion looks like in three ways. So my first experience of compassion was in my early 20s, looking in on circumstances that young people found themselves in, and thinking that breaks my heart. And I'm looking in on that, and I used to talk about at that moment you have the option of crying tears, and you can cry two types of tears. One are tears of sorrow, or tears of compassion. I used to say tears of sorrow render you kind of helpless and hopeless, but tears of compassion are very different, because compassion has the word passion in it, and passion always leads to action. And so I'd live off that, because I still believe that. I think that's what compassion is. It just literally leads to action. So I'd look at the lens I'd look at compassion through was kind of as someone else looking out, and then very much the lens that I looked at compassion through was a lived lens. And so, oh man, I'm living this stuff, and this is my reality. And so that then becomes the thing, the smelling thing. You kind of you know, and then now looking at it through a different lens as someone who has lived through it as well, and lives in the reality of hope. And so now kind of I've got the beautiful thing of the both, which is the kind of compassion from the outside looking in, but then also the compassion of being the person who's lived that stuff. But I would just, I think that difference between sorrow and compassion is similar to the kind of the empathy and sympathy thing. It's the when I'm an emotional person, got a bit emotional as we've been talking, and often quite on the edge of tears. And so it's what do your tears look like?
That action point is so important. I feel like I hear it in the third sector, the social enterprises and the people I come across. A lot of theory is good, but if it's theory that ends up to no action, and what?
Yeah.
Or so what?
Yeah.
Like I'm probably the wrong way around. I'm probably too much action orientated. I'd rather go out on the street and start speaking to everyone, as opposed to be in a room for 20 hours talking about things. I'm like, guys, we're wasting time. Let's go and take action and actually do something about it. I think there's probably a balance in that. I'm probably too far on one side of it, but I think that's where community comes in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's all easy to say when we've been through this. I mean, 2018, I sat my mum and dad down and I said, Mum, Dad, they were watching Coronation Street, and you never interrupt my parents whilst they're watching Coronation Street. And I said, look, guys, I'm struggling with depression.
Yeah.
And they looked at me so shocked. They were like, but you're so out there. You're so out on, you're so much of an extrovert. And it was like, they'd known me my whole life, but they've not known me my whole life.
Yeah.
And it was this surprise that you may know someone but they may only have allowed you to know a certain part of you.
Yeah.
You know, and I think and even to this day, when a snake sheds its skin, 2 years later, it doesn't try and get back into the old skin it shed.
Yeah.
But for some reason, us as humans sometimes try and identify with our old self.
Yeah.
But that old self doesn't exist.
Yeah, yeah.
And so there's just so much to this. I mean, we could speak about everything we're talking about. I think we need to do a week-long podcast as about this, mate, 6 episodes later. But where do we find you at now, Rich? Like, in terms of not what you do, but who you are and what's going on in your life, like, where do we find you?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, you've said it. I'm much more concerned these days with who I am than what I do. And so I'm privileged to be able to be involved in some amazing work. And so, I am the chief exec of a charity that's doing some class things and seeing huge impact in the lives of people in Liverpool. I'm involved in some other side hustles as well, looking to see how we affect some systems change stuff, and building a little response to that, a kind of mini think tank thing, because I've got a few grey hairs and lived a little bit, been in this game for 20 years now. I find myself kind of contributing to other organisations, helping them, nudge them along the way, and kind of giving them some pointers. So yeah, it's kind of the work life is full
Yeah.
and it is enjoyable, but the kind of reality of hope for me comes when I walk through my front door at the end of the day and get various greetings from my kids who are behind that front door. And so firstly, I'm enjoying being me and living well, but then very close after that, enjoying being a husband and enjoying being a dad, and enjoying being a son and a brother. And so, you know, those things are now so much more important to me than they ever were. And now I really enjoy going and watching Robbie Williams and not having to be him. And I've seen him later this month, and it will be the 378th time. That's an exaggeration, but you know, I've seen him a lot. I don't want to be Robbie Williams anymore. I'm happy being Rich Jones.
Amazing. Oh, Rich, well, thank you so much for being on the Tales to Inspire podcast. Before we finish, I am going to ask you a few things. We're going to have a quick fire questions. If you've listened to the podcast, you know this.
So I did listen to this, and I was thinking, I was trying to do some revision or something. But
you can't revise. I don't even know the questions yet.
This is going to throw me off, isn't it? Yeah.
So questions, I'm going to ask some questions, quick fire, simple answer, no explanation.
Yep.
So, let's go with life is about.
Living.
Education should.
Be liberating.
Young people are.
I was going to give a really corny answer to that. Worth investing in.
Oh, I love that. The charity sector can.
Change the world.
Real. Wow, I love that one. Yeah. Wow. Community should.
Stay small.
Oh, I like that. How much of your life is where you're at right now is down to luck, and how much of it down to you, maybe hard work or the things that you put in place?
Okay, so 100% is down to me, and it's a mixture of hard work and a lot of failure.
I love that. Amazing. Right. Well, how do people, Rich, if they want to find out about you, you are an author. Am I right in saying you're an author? We've not talked about your book. So how do people find out about you, your book and anything else?
Yeah, cool. So the kind of stuff that I'm working on now, including access to the book and some podcasty stuff and things, you can find online at cic.coach. If you want to look at some of the other stuff, there's a little placeholder webpage, richjones.net, that's got some stuff knocking around there. And you can find me on kind of various social media platforms. I kind of stay clear from X and LinkedIn.
Right.
If you head to Substack, which I've just started dipping my toe in the water of, ciccoach.substack.com. I just popped something up recently about why I stay clear from LinkedIn. So
right,
go have a read of that.
So whoever's the Rich Jones LinkedIn profile, it's not you.
Well, it is me, but it's a burner. It's Fiddleman.
I love it. And my final two questions. Before we go to the final two, I want to say thank you, mate.
Pleasure.
You're a legend. Like the chances of us two being in this room from where, I mean, the chances of us ever meeting.
Yeah.
At that point, it's like you wouldn't be able to plan it.
Yeah.
So thank you for reaching out when I gave you my number and contact details, and then having that conversation. You didn't have to, and for offering me to support when you were working within the charity sector when I did come and work. I still say it today, it's one of the highest paid roles when I got to the keynote talk that I ever did, or have ever done to this point. And the fact that I got to that point and the way it came about is just so special. But it's also one of the things that I felt most proud of. Because people always say, oh, to get this, you have to do this. I didn't.
No.
We met like how we met, and it's so special. So thank you, mate. You're a legend. Hopefully we're friends for life, mate. And
absolutely.
I genuinely mean this. Like, if there's anything I could do, you already know this. You was invited to my birthday before I'd even met you, mate. So if there's anything I could do for you or anything, like, I'm there, mate. Simple. To the final two questions I've asked every Tales to Inspire champion. Cool. So it's nearly 170 people that we've asked these two questions. And the first one is, Rich Jones, what's your definition of the word inspire?
My definition of the word inspire is the connection for someone or a group of people from the reality of now to a hope-filled other.
Love that. Yeah, I really love that. And then my last question, Mitch, is if you was to live your best life, you know, hopefully it's another 50, 60, 70 years from now, right? And you're looking back, like, what is it that you want to have achieved during this lifetime?
I mean, if I've lived 70 years from now, then I've achieved some record breaking.
Medical technology can take as long, mate. Who knows?
I just want to have been the best version of me that I can be. I don't think anyone gets to their deathbed and says, "Oh, I wish I spent more time in the office." So yeah, when I get to that point, I want to still be happy being me.
Amazing, I love it. Here's to less time in the office, mate.
Yes, mate.
Perfect, mate. You're a legend. Thank you so much, mate.
All good.
Thank you for watching today's episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please leave a comment in the comment section below, and we cannot wait to see you for our next episode.